Hey everyone, this is Nathan Williams with BlackRain79.com. I'm back here with another hand history review for you guys. So today's hand was sent to me by Omer from Cyprus. I hope I got that name right. I apologize if I didn't. And as you guys can see there, he has the 6-7 of spades on the button, and this is a 2 euro cent, 4 euro cent game. And before I get into anything, as I always mention, the very first thing you always look at in poker is the stack sizes, and as you can see, this hand is going to be ultra deep stacked. I'll just say right off the bat that villain 2 is going to be our main adversary in this hand, the guy we're up against. The effective stack in this hand is actually going to be around 450 big blinds. So ultra deep stacked. And you know what, I love deep stack poker because this is the truest form of the game in my opinion, because you can really outplay people. There's no real hard and fast rules for raise here, fold here. There's so much more room for creativity when the stacks get deep in poker. 200, 300, and 400 is just crazy. So this is really when you can get ahead in this game. And as we're going to see in this hand, this is a perfect example of how you can absolutely wreck the, I'm going to call them bad regs in today's games because they just don't know how to play deep stack. So let's jump right into this hand here. So Omer makes a pretty standard mini raise from the button there. You know, it's not a big deal. You could mini raise, you could make it 3x, just anywhere in there. It's just a standard steal these days. So as I mentioned before, villain 2 is going to be involved in this hand, and he actually decides to pop it up to a, makes a 3-bet to 4 times our open. I'll just quickly run through the stats that Omer gave me on this guy. He's told me he's at 18, 12, 2. That's VPIP, PFR, and aggression factor. And he has a 3-bet of just 4, so pretty tight range. By the way, those are all HUD stats if you don't know what any of that stuff means. If it sounds like Greek to you, there's a link in the description, and you can go get all these numbers on your screen. Basically, it just tells you what kind of player we're up against. So when I see an 18, 12, 2 with a 4 3-bet, I'm thinking a tight passive reg. Honestly, kind of what we refer to as a bad reg in today's games. You know, you can win at these stakes even without, you know, being a great poker player, but probably this is kind of the player that's usually around break even, small winner at best, possibly small loser. So the kind of player that you're going to find at these stakes that makes a lot of post-flop mistakes. Anyways, Omer makes the call here, which I think is 100% standard. Once again, guys, I just want to make this abundantly clear. We're 450 big blinds effective in this hand, so you can literally call the 3-bet on the button here with almost any 2 cards. I mean, you know, I mean, I wouldn't be opening with 7-2 offsuit or something to begin with, but I think you get my drift when we're so deep that just the implied odds, as Omer told me in the mentioned in the email, the implied odds are just through the roof here. So this really just is a completely standard call on the button here, but in a 100 big blind game, which you guys are probably used to playing, it's a lot different. Often that this actually would be a fold, by the way, in a 100 big blind game. Anyways, let's go to a flop. It's a pretty good one. So villain 2 comes out with the C-bet of roughly 2/3, maybe a little bit more there. And so what should Omer do in a spot like this? Well, I briefly looked at this hand before I hit record. My first thought here was raise, but I think his decision to just call is okay as well. I think it's a little bit of a toss-up. It kind of depends what kind of player I'm up against, but usually at the ultra-low stakes like this, I just lean more towards fast-playing my bigger hands because I just think that they can't fold anything. They just don't really like to fold too much at these stakes, so and also I just want to build a pot, you know? I mean, there's so much stack behind this hand, so obviously just want to try to get as much in there as possible. And also another thing is, like, if he does happen to have a big overpair, remember this guy only has a 3-bet of 4, so there's actually a pretty decent chance that this guy's got like some sort of huge hand, like aces kings, or I mean, ace queen is certainly in that range as well. I'd really like to get some more money in the middle, especially before a potential scare card comes on the turn. For instance, if he has ace queen here and a king comes on the turn, that's gonna, you know, I'd rather get some more money in the middle now. If he's got pocket kings, if an ace comes on the turn, I think you catch my drift there. So that's another reason why I do like raising it up here. But it is okay to just call here. Against some of the better regs, I definitely will put in some more calls here just to keep them sort of guessing and But I would say that against the bad regs and obviously all fish, I'm pretty much always going to be fast playing with a raise here. Anyways, let's go to the turn. It's a pretty good one. So we're basically just sitting on the Stolen Cold Nuts at this point, and really it's just we're kind of hoping that this guy has the hand, like the big, aces, kings, even queens. I hope he has queens at this point. Or ace-queen, of course. So this is obviously just the dream situation to be in against a player ultra deep stacked, and you just have them completely dead to rights. So anyways, what happens here? So Villain 2 comes out with the slight overbet on the turn. He's pretty much representing pretty clearly at this point that he does indeed have one of those hands. I think ace king is clearly out of his range at this point. I think he clearly has aces, kings, queens, or ace queen at this point. When he's betting this amount. You often see this these days at the lower stakes with a lot of regs. I think too many of them have read my first book, Crushing the Micro Stakes, and they're doing this overbetting all the time. And honestly, guys, when they're doing this, they pretty much always have it, because that's what I talk about in the book. I say when you have the huge hand here, just overbet. So a lot of guys still do this, and I bet the farm at this point. He has one of those massive value hands. So the only question is, how do we get the most out of him here? Well, I am going to agree with Omar's decision in this spot to just call, because the main difference here is there are no scare cards really on the river at this point. Well, I mean, I guess if he has pocket kings, an ace could come and stuff like that. But at this point, I just think he clearly has one of those big hands, and he's probably going to go with it. So, we have quads at this point. So, while you could get a little cheeky here with a raise, I think it's okay to just call, especially when he's overbetting as well. He's kind of he is kind of building the pot for us already at this point. So the river's a good one. It's a 10 there. It's not going to be any kind of scare card to pocket kings or ace queen or anything like that. So what does Villain do? He comes out with the overbet once again. So once again, in true Crushing the Micro Stakes style, he is basically just screaming from the top of the mountaintops right now that he has aces, kings, ace queen, something like that. So what do we do here? Well, I mean, I don't really need to explain this to you guys. You obviously know what to do with quads. That's what Omer does, of course. And Villain 2, of course, makes the snap call with his pocket rockets. So I found this to be a really fun hand. Thank you very much, by the way, Omer, for sending me this hand. I think you played it excellent. I don't really think there's much else to say. You got his entire stack. So awesome job. But I think the main kind of point that I want to make with this hand is just this is the value you can get by playing in ultra deep stacked games against bad regs. Bad regs are kind of the new fish because there's not always a ton of fish in these games. So, when you're ultra deep stacked against the bad regs, this is what you want to do, because as you can see, they just shove 450 big blinds in the middle because, oh my god, I got the pocket rockets, And I do think this is really important, especially for a lot of you guys that are playing Zoom poker, or if you play live poker as well, because these are games, as you guys probably know, where you often are in deep stack situations. Often in Zoom, for instance, like you're not switching tables. I mean, you are, but you keep your stack, right? So there's a lot of situations in those games where you're up against a reg and you're ultra deep stacked against them, 200, 300, 400, big lines deep. And as you can see, guys, these are the mistakes that these guys can make. Omer told me in the email that, by the way, I should have mentioned off the top that Omer's image, as he told me, is a loose, aggressive player. So they were on 6 tables together. So they play a lot together. That's another thing I'm always talking about in these games is really it's a great idea to get that loose, aggressive image so that this is a situation like this where they're going to pay you off because like, oh, this guy's bluffing again. He's overplaying his queen jack or whatever he's got here. And you can just see the kind of enormous mistakes that these guys will make in a spot like this. This is a spot where it would be absolutely sick to get away with aces here on this board. But, against, as Omar also said in the email, the guy has to know that I'm not a fish and I'm not getting 450 big blinds in the middle here with, just a queen or something, like basically the main point here is that there's still a lot of loose, dead money out there in these games, especially with the weaker regs when you're ultra deep stacked like this. A lot of them, They just are not going to get away from a big pair like this, especially if you create that loose and aggressive image against them. That's why I'm always talking about, especially on my blog and in my books, of, you know, 3-betting these guys a lot and barreling them and stuff like that and bluffing them. And that's why it's okay, like, if they catch you in a bluff sometimes. It's really, this is the payoff. This is why you're building up that image, so that when you get in a spot like this, the guy's just not going to lay his aces down against you. You know, this is just absolutely rocket fuel for your win rate. I mean, can you imagine what Omer's win rate does after winning 4.5 stacks in one hand, right? So anyways, I hope this hand was useful for you guys. Once again, thanks for sending me this hand. Omer, you played it great. But as always, I want to know what you guys think, so let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How do you play your quads? But more importantly, let me know your thoughts on ultra deep stack poker and just sort of how you play in situations like this. And if you guys like watching micro-stakes poker strategy videos like this, I'm putting them out all the time here on my channel, so make sure you will give this video a like if you did enjoy it. And also make sure you subscribe to my channel because, like I said, I'm putting out tons more content, tons more hands like this in 2019. Lastly, make sure you download a copy of my free poker guide. It's called Massive Profit in the Micros. It's the top link in the description below. And it's roughly about a 50-page little ebook. Once again, it doesn't cost you anything. It's totally free. And I'll give you my complete strategy on how I beat low-stakes games like this. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. This has been Nathan Williams with BlackRain79.com.